Okay, hello everybody again. Thank you for tuning in to the stream. Um, Today we're gonna talk about everything that happened this week. We start with crypto and then we flip to TradFi because I think TradFi is it's just so much easier right now. Maybe always, but right now it's pretty much a gold rush. And I think people should really look more into this because if you only trade crypto, you miss out big time, in my opinion. Okay, yeah, let's start with BTC. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We are still in this range, right? So we could define this. This is a big range. We had no break of structure to the upside. We had also break of structures internally. So I would consider this an internal range. Um, we broke the structure to the downside. Let me start with this. Usually I talk about this every week more or less, but we broke structure to the downside here. So we had a break of structure internally. This is not necessarily like does not mean we go to 30K from here, but it was definitely a bearish sign, especially combined with no break of structure to the upside, which then made me think, and this is what I told people, that this is now the new range more or less. So this whole thing here, um, and still we made another lower low from here. So again, another bearish sign. And then we formed this new swing low. We bounced from here, from this little demand area here. We bounced. We're making a higher low right now, while almost all altcoins making a lower low. So classic crypto stuff. Um, as usual, a lot of fun for only altcoin holders. But I mean, by now, people should probably should have realized that altcoins are really tough and they really need to be traded. So you cannot go there with an investment mindset, with a higher time frame investment mindset and say, yeah, I just buy this and then I hold for a few years and then I will end up in profit. Because obviously most altcoins are still where they were like a few years ago, with a few exceptions. And the amount of volatility you have to face just for example, if we talk about Doge, if you come here with an investment mindset and, for example, you bought in the April lows, you're like at 40% or 50% profit, which is okay. I mean, it's a great performance, right? I mean, not even a year, but I mean, those swings are very aggressive, and if you don't take profits, it feels like a loss anyway because you just keep on round tripping somehow. And people have those higher time frame targets in mind, like this one, maybe even 60 cents, maybe even way higher sometimes. And so it doesn't really feel like a win, even though you're up 50%. It doesn't really feel like a win. And as said, altcoins are pretty much the trap of the whole market, and so many people are just trading altcoins. But back to BTC, we are still like making high low, but we have significant supply above, like a big liquidity cluster here around the 0.5 of this little range here. So I'm looking to short here, definitely. We have some refined entries, double hiddens, and everything. But I'm entering on a little wider stop loss, and if I get my reaction or something, I'm gonna tighten the stop loss, better the RR, add to this position. So my usual execution tactics, like I almost always do it in crypto. And so I will do the same thing here again. That said, one thing is to be considered. So if we don't take out this low before, it's not as optimal as if we break this down, close below, bounce again. So if we don't close this, we have no break of structure in this whole swing. But of course I can still trade this, and I will probably target this. And as said, this doesn't look very appealing right now like this. But usually I enter, and if there is no big liquidation spike, or if there is one, I can like tighten my stop loss, and I would target first the range low, of course, because as said, if we don't break it, like this is then our new range here, like always. Um, so if I like, you could consider this as the new range as long as we don't take out those highs here. We could range here for forever basically, and that's why I only target the slowdown here first. And if this like breaks down, I have locked in again. I can trail my stop loss, and of course I can trail the position even lower if possible. But do not fall for the trap like, oh yeah, we had high time frame discount premium. and I'm gonna short BTC here for like whatever kind of target, 30K or something. Play the range until it's broken, and understand the context you're in. Very important stuff. Yeah, so much to Bitcoin. As said, very interested into this level. Then we have ETH breaking a higher time frame key low, also breaking a psychological level. I mean, we are above 4K already again. But at the same time, we closed below it, and I mean, we took this level, and also on ETH Euro, there's like this daily hidden. I've not taken a position here as of now, and that's totally fine. So not mad about this. If we come to my level, I will probably take one again, probably Titan or something, depending on what the market does. And even though my best case target is here, I would always only target this, as said, Titan on confirmation, or cutting on like no confirmation, and then the trade probably will look like this, or I add into the weekly or something. Whatever it is, I first target the range high, and maybe best case we go up here, which would be very nice. But as said, no given, especially because this has to be overcome first. And of course, if we close the weekly here, we have this weekly block in the supply area, which is then definitely like to be considered for a TP if you take a long here, or even for a short or something. Yeah, so much to ETH. I mean, in the altcoin market in general is like getting obliterated right now. And I mean, just look at the timeline before all of that happened. I mean, I have not seen the word alt season so many times like the last few weeks, and I said this in one update of mine. Like it reached concerning levels, and all people are showing the same crappy altcoin season indicator. Nobody even knows what this thing is made of. So why would you base your trades and your ideas on that? It's just insanity in my opinion. But if you have taken a profit spot TP on ETH, you did right in my opinion. I mean, I did a 30 TP here, maybe a little overcautious, but we broke structure here as well. And this was looking very weak, so I was happy to lock in again here, and I did another 50% TP around all-time high on the first spike actually. Why? Because we are at high time frame premium, right? I mean, we were at high time frame discount. I was buying. I was like my average was around 1.7K or 1.8K or something. And of course I sell into premium. I mean, this is why I do this, right? I want to make money. It's not about like ETH going to 10K, ETH going to 6K, whatever. I don't really care. If it does, that's great. I've still like 30% or 20% left of my position, which is not much, of course. But in the end, I'm here to make money, to make safe money. And looking at this whole like breakdown here, I'm very glad that I did that, because I can always add back. There are like more markets than just crypto. There are more assets than just ETH. So I don't really care. I make good money on this play, and I sold in higher time frame premium, and obviously I did the same thing that whales are doing, because look at what price does. So yeah. So if you did not take profits here, consider doing it the next time, and learn from your mistakes. So it's really no shame. We all made mistakes before, but we are at higher time frame discount, at all-time high, at supply. Don't listen to all the crap, all this garbage out there, like alt season blah. I mean, as said, how many times did we have you heard alt season before the cycle? And how many times did it really happen? And it happened before. And I mean, this is like alt season, right? I mean, ETH as the biggest altcoin, ripped what 200, almost more than a 3x from the lows. I would consider this alt season, to be honest, but it's never enough for people until this happens, and then everybody gets humbled again. Everybody says, "Yeah, okay, good. I should have taken profits." So learn to take profits on the way up, or if structure turns against you or something. You don't need to be perfect for spot plays to be profitable. It's about doing the right thing anyway, even regardless of feelings. And this brings me to Doge, because look, Doge is always moving in in the spiky behavior. I mean, this is like classic meme coin behavior, right? Big spikes, big drops, big spikes, big drops. And I said, I mean, if you bought it in 2022, you're up significant, right? I mean, you could have also bought ETH, for this performance. But if you, of course, locked in gains up and down, and compounded those gains, this was like crazy performance. And I said, if you bought somewhere here, and if you sold here, and if you re-added back here, and then you sold here, and then you re-added back, and I mean, look at how crazy this like how much gains you could have compound instead of just holding. Like altcoins, in my opinion, altcoins need to be traded, instead of like holding on to this belief of there will be a big alt season. Because what was this if not alt season? I mean, Doge did what? At 350% in such a short time, and to be honest, it felt like a mistake selling here. It just felt like a mistake, and I did not sell everything because I'm always like, but what if it goes higher? So I want to be prepared for everything. But preparing for everything means also preparing for the bearish case, but also for the bullish case. So as said, I sold here. I did not sell everything on this breakdown. I sold the rest, and all in all, I sold around 40 cents. Which was then, after looking back, was the perfect choice at this in this move. I doubted myself. I thought, oh, this was the wrong choice, and then obviously it turned out to be the right choice. And I added all of it more or less back here around 15 cents. So again, I was not perfect. I was not catching it at 12 cents. I was just scaling in here. I took a spot TP here. Everything public, by the way. From this point on, I also did some public stuff here, but it was very messy. But you can find it on my X page, and everything in here happened in Discord. And then I spot TP'd here. I added back here. It went a little lower. Yeah, as said, no perfection needed. I did not TP here just because there was really no target of mine. I thought at least the 0.5 should have been touched. We nuked back down. I thought, yeah, good. I did not only think that this was a mistake. It was a mistake. I should have taken a TP here as well. No problem at all. I took a TP here. Now we nuke back down. And you see, it's just repeating over and over and over. And everybody that is like holding on to this idea of alt season, this concept, like whatever it is more or less paying the price, or at least not locking in as much gains as they could. And as I said, I could have always been better, more perfect. I could always beat myself up for doing something wrong. But in the end, I'm here to make money. And in the end, I made money. And if this like breaks down, I have my partial stop spot. And it might even be a full stop, depending on what ETH does and everything. So should we close below this area, like the weekly, the 7-day, and all this demand here, I will sell the rest of my spot. Why? Because I think if we lose this area, the next logical target would be this, and then it's another 10%. And if this is not holding, this is only a partial level as well. The next demand is here, and if this is not holding, the next level is here. And just because we have a best case target of like 60 cents or something, or even $1 or whatever, or just 30 cents, does not mean it needs to happen, right? This could be the top. I mean, this could be a high time frame 3 drive, and it could just nuke from here. And I don't want to be this guy holding on to my Doge and being a nice profit and round tripping it all back. Like, I mean, a 50% drop is definitely painful from here. And so, of course, I have my stop in place. I locked in some gains, and worst case, I do not make as much as I expected. Best case, it gets even more. And so, as I said, staying adaptable is very important. And all of that said, I think even though it feels like, looking at crypto, it feels like very bearish, and it feels like everything is over and we're going to lose all our money and everything, I think it feels a little worse than it really is. Because first of all, we are like in ETH, we are in demand. We hit the 9-day. I mean, we closed above, so this is not the best thing. Tether dominance, but I mean, it's a 9-day level, so I would wait for a 9-day close, which comes today, by the way. We are here, we hit the daily, we closed the FVG, we are at this major trend line. In my opinion, it's an important one. And this daily, so should we make higher highs from here? This does not look as bearish anymore. ETH dominance hit its level, ETH BTC hit its level, total hit its level. Total 2, by the way, total 2 ES, so it excluded stable coins. The normal total 2 did not yet. Total 3 is at range low. The chart needs probably an update. And here we are also at range low, close to demand. So I think like it feels worse than it is, but it's definitely to be considered that we lost structure here. But as said before, we did this before, like a full body below, and then we just ripped again. So crypto does those things, and then it's manipulative, and it's probably the most manipulated market of all. So I would consider it the most difficult one. And again, we are here at demand, and as long as all of this is holding, I see no reason to be overly bearish. But if we close the weekly below here and below the swing low, like I would not expect a new all-time high. I would expect this as best case target first, and if we clear this whole area, we could expect higher prices. But as I said, I think ETH is pretty much done, and from a risk to reward perspective, it's not as appealing anymore as it was in this area, just because of premium and discount knowledge. Yeah, so as said, I think crypto is one of the harder markets, and it's all about building expectations, shattering them, building them, shattering them, building them, shattering them. And the expectation was once we cut rates, we have this big full-blown alt season. We had a rate cut, and we have this full-blown leg down. So as said, typical crypto things. And while crypto was like, for crypto holders, it was very ugly, more or less. I mean, gold ripped. I mean, it's going up in a straight line, more or less. So very nice play. I mean, obviously, like from this low here, it's only up 13%. But I mean, if you play it on size, it's still like nice compared to holding ETH, for example, for like 20, 15% move down. Like you see, in the end, it's about compounding gains. And I could now, I've locked in a lot of gains on gold already. I did another 20% TP on the 30% on the short-term plays. And should we roll over from here? And for example, ETH showing strength again, because ETH is at demand. You see, ETH is at demand while gold is at supply. And playing different markets and different assets allows me to say, okay, I want to lock in gains here. I mean, we are obviously in higher time frame premium. Sorry for the messy chart. We are at all-time high, even way above it already. And so, of course, I lock in gains. It's the same thing like on ETH. I don't really care who says like gold goes to 10K, gold goes to 4K, gold goes to whatever kind of number. I don't really care. I lock in gains in supply after strong pumps. I did the same thing on ETH right here. And now I can use this money, for example, to buy ETH at the demand again. Like in the same time, ETH went down from here when I sold it somewhere in here. It went down 17%, and the same time gold went up 16%, right? So overall, I took the money from one play, put it into another play. Of course, it was not like selling ETH for gold, but you know what I mean. And so I free up money to always rotate into the right place at the right time. And while the whole crypto market was bleeding and bleeding and bleeding, look at what those stocks did. Like these are risky stocks, right? So this is not like something I would say buy it for your pension or something. But in the end, the narrative is nice. It's a quantum computing company, and yeah, they say it's a great one and all that. But I don't really care. I care about the narrative, like good narrative, good looking chart. I went long into the gap, and I did not think that this is going to happen, to be honest. So I locked in gains locally on this spike here, and again here at all-time high. And I mean, it just kept on ripping, right? So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I locked in over 50%, and then it did another 65%. But who cares? It's about making money. It's not about being perfect. And all those people out there that tell you, oh, don't sell too early, don't sell. To be honest, I never regret one single time that I sold something. Never. And look, this is the perfect example. I locked in 55% here, and I do not regret it. Even more, right? 60%. I do not regret it. Not at all. Why? Because I made money, and I made even more money. It's good. Life is good. I made more money. Okay. So selling too early and regretting it, this is just, in my opinion, it's a myth, or it's greed, or whatever it is. So yeah, taking profits is never a mistake in my opinion. And this is just one example of many. Like in the same time, altcoins did pretty much nothing, or even like getting destroyed. We have many different, and you see those stocks, they move like a cyclical, or what do you call it? not in synchronicity. Like altcoins, do you buy one altcoin or you buy three altcoins? One goes down, all of them go down. And here it's like you see, for example, this one, psychedelic pharma, interesting narrative in my opinion. Um, it's at higher time from discount, and the narrative is nice. The company has interesting ideas. As said, I don't care too much about fundamentals, to be honest, because as said, I don't believe most of it, because most of those companies are not profitable anyway. They have nice ideas. It's more or less like a startup or something, or like an altcoin, more or less, with a little more substance probably. And while this like ripped 10%, like display new 2%, or this one minus 4%, and I'm not into those. Or this one, I bought this one yesterday. It went a little bit down, but you see, my point is, it's not moving in synchronicity all the time. So you can have different plays, and like the gold example, selling ETH, buying gold, selling gold, maybe buying ETH. I won't, but I could, with those profits. And you see, it's not moving in synchronicity. So if you are in different markets, you just have more options, and it's just more fun in my opinion, and not as like devastating if one of your plays is not doing well, because yeah, one of my stocks might not do well, and the other one is doing incredibly well in the meantime, and I can use those profits to maybe buy even more of this other one if I think that the whole thesis is still intact, which I don't, by the way. So I have 50% cash, as I said in the SPX update this morning. I don't know who saw it already, but I think like it's not looking like a very sustainable move. I mean, it's even steeper than the whole 21. People say, "Oh yeah, 21 was so great and everything pumped and blah." And look at this. I mean, since April, this is vertical, right? I mean, it could go more vertical. Otherwise, it would probably roll over and go the other way. And see, not even 21 was so. 21 was very prolonged. Like it took, like the whole move took very long, and so like this feeling of everything is going up forever was a lot stronger, and obviously a lot more things like did incredibly well in this time. And this time it's very selective. So if you're not in the right things, you're making nothing or even worse. While here everything basically went up, like crypto, stocks, yeah, just everything. And this time it's not. It's very selective, and you need to be in the right things to make significant gains. But I mean, as said, the SPX did like 40% since the lows. If you bought Doge in April, like, and you're not perfect, like around the lows, you're also up 40%. So what's the point in buying Doge if you don't sell it at the highs? If you don't trade Doge, what's the point in holding it, right? You could also buy the S&P. You have way less risk. It's way less volatile, and you still end up with 40%. And you could still now use those gains to buy Doge if you think it does well from here. You see. And so people are way too less focused on those kind of assets. And I mean, asset, this is like not your typical move. This is very, very aggressive. So don't expect like the indices to do this well every year. But anyway, asset, people are too focused on crypto, in my opinion, like being stuck in this belief they can only make it with crypto. And this is just what I wanted to show. Yeah, and I promised the traders that I going to look at the Russell 2K as well, because this is like your shitcoin indicator or index for stocks. It's basically like 2,000 American stocks. So I think there's a whole pile of crap in there. But in the end, we are also at all-time high, right? And this level rejected already twice. Very aggressive. And as long as it's not breaking, I don't expect any different. So as said, there is a reason why I hold 50% cash on my stock place right now. My biggest position was gold. I sold it already a lot, so this built me a lot of cash anyway. But these moves, like the higher it goes, the more cash you should build, and the lower it goes, the more assets you build. And as said, this is like my shit stock indicator. Like, yeah, you could call it total 3 of stocks or something. And as said, this level here, until it's reclaimed, it remains resistance, right? And all of my stocks, everything I showed you, as said, these are small companies. So sometimes they have significant volume. So for example, Rigetti is one of the better ones. It has 100 million volume, so 100 million contracts or stocks in this case. So x30. So it has significant volume, right? And it has also a significant market cap, 10 billion by now. So this is not like not a penny stock or something, but still these companies are highly speculative, sometimes not even profitable. They just have a nice idea, and so I consider them more or less very part of this whole shit stock indicator. And as said, if the S&P is not doing well anymore, so if this is starting to roll over and going into bear market, I do not want to be in those stocks anymore, even though I like those companies from a like narrative perspective, and I think those narratives sometimes like robotics or flying cars or quantum computing or whatever it is will be very, very big in the future. I do not want to hold them through the bear market, right? Because if this is correcting into this higher time frame demand here, like 15, 16, 17, 20% or something, you can imagine what happens to those stocks. Like it's the same thing. Like if BTC pukes 20%, you can imagine what happens to altcoins, and it's the same way here, more or less. But it's like trading in crypto, but in easy mode, in my opinion. Like asset supply demand gaps, premium and discount knowledge, some narratives on top, some higher time frame macro thesis, looking at the indices and everything, and there you go. That's it basically. And as said, now we are on an inflection point. I think if the structure is breaking down, so if this momentum here is fading, and as said, it's like almost vertical here. If you're breaking down here, I would consider this point a make or break point. For now, this little demand here is holding. We are bouncing from here. We could easily make another higher high or something. We could easily keep on dripping. But if we correct bigger, I want to have cash to either buy back or just to not pay as much gains back as needed. And so, yeah, as said, I think inflection point, make or break here. I have my trading stops in place, and I locked in already enough gains, and I'm still willing to ride this move higher. So this could go on for a little longer, right? And I'm not the guy who want to say I always hold everything because I have a bias now. No, I layer my ideas, I layer my positions, I scale in, I scale out, and I try to stay prepared for everything. And I said this is basically how I do it. And just back to crypto again, I said I'm not long from here. I'm looking for a long here. I'm looking to be long on Doge from this demand here. If not, I have still my spot. There's no pressure to build a position or something. If it rips without me or without a long, that's totally fine. I went long within here, by the way, and I've cut it almost around break even. I think it was a 0.4% loss or something, or 0.3. 0.3 or 4 or something. Yeah, I don't remember exactly. And the thing is, I want to go long at this demand again. I just wanted to step aside because I thought if ETH is breaking down, this could get ugly very quick. And so I stepped aside and managed my risk. And as said, I have no pressure to build a position. Why would I? So I'm always prepared with my spot bags. I always prepare by taking profits with my spot bag. I always try to catch some shorts if possible. So as said, I always try to prepare for every case because it's probabilities in the end, and I can't know what's happened next, and so I prepare for every outcome at the where my odds are the best. And as said, we are at demand, so it's definitely like interesting to buy Doge, go long Doge here, and I'm trying to do that. And if it's not happening, it's not happening. And in the same way, I'm looking to short BTC here, or even go long down here, like sweeping this low and going long maybe into this level or something. Whatever the market gives me, I just take it and try to make money out of it or of it. Okay, I think this is what I wanted to say, pretty much. Now, you guys, you can ask some questions if you like. We have around 30 minutes left. So bring me your questions and I'll be right back. Okay, guys, I'm back. Nobody has any questions. I mean, if you don't have any questions, that's great as well. I can maybe like come up with something else for the rest of the 30 minutes. But I think I've said everything. Could you have a look at Tesla? Yeah, sure, sure. I did this morning, and where are we? Yeah. And I thought about like shorting this here on Monday. I'm not quite sure yet. I will. I want to see what happens to P-market and everything on Monday. Um, but I think like Tesla has two ways from here. It's either like ripping to an all-time high, or it's rolling over here and not making a new all-time high. So pretty much it's either up and down. And the question is, how do I want to expose myself for it? And like I have seen this kind of movement before, like FHG up, FHG down, FHG up, FHG down, and it was here, but it was not on the 12 hour, right? Was it on Tesla? No, I think it was on Google or something. I messed it up. I messed this up. But I remember trying to like long this hidden level here, and it just went lower to demand, and I just covered the whole thing here with this CFD position. And I just figured like within this, I just figured stocks are probably going more for supply and demand, like simple supply and demand, highs and lows, than those hidden levels. I think the hidden stuff is more crypto. And so it's doing this thing here, and I like to call it flip it the switch. On lower time frame, I've seen this a lot of times as well. Like if we enter a key level or something, then we have this like crazy up and down, and then it rolls over or something. So I'm interested. Why we skipped the 12 hour? I said I don't consider this like a valid level, more or less. It could work, but I'm rather looking for a short here than a long, even though we are above this level, just because we are at higher time frame premium, almost at all-time high. Like since we are above the 0.5, we are premium, right? So I'm not interested in taking too many longs anymore. And so this supply, or also like the whole area here, could provide a reaction, and I maybe want to short this. As I said, I'm not quite sure. I want to see what happens on Monday. And then most likely we're going to go back to this demand, or at least like fill those gaps, because this is pretty much nothing. This is air. So if we start rolling over, if we lose this low, it's probably like going very quick down to like the retest or to the demand or something. But this remains to be seen. I sold 50%. I sold like also publicly, I sold 50% around here, around 420 actually. So within here. And yeah, it went a little bit higher. And even if it went way higher, I said I never regret taking a single profit in my life. And I said, I think should we roll over, should we reject from here, it's going to be quick. And then I probably take even more of my spot TP. So should we lose those local lows? Probably here. I will maybe even TP a little more on spot. Even though I think Tesla could go to 600 or something, as said, I'm not here to make it perfect or something. I'm here to make money. To be perfect, yeah. So as said, maybe shorting on Monday, maybe not. I will also share this publicly on X, because I update my Tesla positions usually on X. So if I should do that, you will see it. My question is, please, how to look for reaction on key level? Yeah, I think that's a pretty broad question. I'm not quite sure how to answer this. So for example, if we like go for this BTC level, like let's make it very simple. If we go for this BTC level here, I look for several things. First of all, I look at sentiment, and I do not just mean like news and everything, but also how people feel and how they act and what they say, like publicly or also in the group and everything. Because the broad sentiment is not just about news; it's about how people feel. And I also look for my own sentiment. Like if we pump into this, and I feel like, ooh, yeah, it's going on again. It's usually a good time to short. Like I use my own emotions as indicator as well, and this is like step one, like sentiment gauge or something. I combine this with order flow because order flow is showing me what people are really doing, because a lot of times people are saying something but doing the opposite or similar things. And order flow is showing me where people really put their money. And so sentiment, order flow, and then there is execution tactics. For example, if you're ready for that, so I wouldn't recommend doing this if you're not ready, because I sometimes if I have the time and if I have the nerves, I go down to lower time frame and I execute those higher time frame, mid time frame levels on lower time frame, while still keeping this oftentimes very wide. I sometimes add on a very tight position, which then gives me insane RR with the same like probability of almost the same probability of a higher time frame level. And I try to refine this level with a second position on lower time frame. So for example, if we go, I'm gonna try to do this with the brush, even though I'm not very good with it. So should we do this? And we consolidate here a little bit, and I get my signs, order flow, sentiment, everything. And I get, for example, a big spike into longs into this last move or something. It's not very good, but you probably get what I mean. And I get my signs. I maybe even enter this lower time frame trade with a very tight invalidation, which is then as said, oh, time brush, which is then as said, like bettering my RR like insanely good, which then means even to this low. So if you like do this is my first target, right? Or even something in between here. And I could like look in the local gain here for 3R and then for 5R, which on this wide play would be not very favorable, right? So if I just take this one, I take it more or less as a swing trade, and I would not lock in gains here. I could not. And maybe I would here, depending on the reaction from this area. I will definitely here, and then I will see if I could trail it. But if I'm able to add this, or even maybe I don't even take a new position, maybe I tighten this one, which the current one I have because of confirmation as said, then I say, okay, if this idea plays, we should not take out this high anymore. So then I maybe add here on this breakdown, or I add within here because I get my signs. And should we like make another higher high here, the idea would be invalidated, and so my stop can be very, very tight. But oftentimes we have those big spikes and then we nuke, and I don't want to get wicked out. So I usually play them like this, because this way I can leave a limit order and I wake up in the morning and I'm not wicked out, which is then nice. You know, like waking up with a stop loss in your face is usually not the best feeling. And I can avoid this by playing it a little wider, tighten on confirmation, executing on low time frame as said. There are many options. And the question is not like what is the perfect one, but the question is what suits your personality and your time schedule. Because I do this full time and I have a lot of time if I want to stare at the charts. And I know a lot of people are still working, and you may be not able to do this the same way. So you need to figure something that is like suiting your personality, your experience level, and all of that. But with execution tactics and refining your entries once the level hits, magic can happen. And I did this also publicly a lot of times, like also in here. Unfortunately, I can't go to the 1 minute because I think the chart data would not be enough, and I would spend hours finding this. But there was on the 1 minute, there was a big absorption candle, like order flow wise. I have a big absorption scene. I have seen a lot of longs coming in. And so I added on the 1 minute, like really tight, and I could like pull 10R to this low. And then I added back, and I could have pulled another like 6 to 7R until this. And I had also this higher time frame swing short, which also paid me money. So I made more or less from this whole move here, I made like probably 5 times as much money or even more than I would have like just trading the higher time frame level. And as said, there are so many things in this market. You can like do magic if you know how, and if your experience level and if your time schedule allows it. And I said, if you, for example, start showing strength here, I would not, if I don't get my signs, I would not add. I would probably leave this like this. And if we just make higher highs, and if we even clear the 0.5 without anything, I would probably cut the whole position here, which would then be like only 0.5 hours. So I would probably take 1 hour risk, which would be 1% or something. And I would cut here if I don't get my signs. But I just eliminate the risk of getting stopped out with a quick flash wick or something by keeping it wider. But this is just me. As said, also this execution tactic has its flaws, of course, because you need like to watch it and you need to do the right thing at the right time. And this requires fast and a lot of decision making compared to just like playing it like this and you just say, okay, if this is not working, I get stopped and that's it. But as said, this is me. I do it like this, and other people might do it different. And you will come up with your own idea. You can take my ideas, you can take ideas from several people, and you make it your own, which suits your life, your personality, and your time schedule. What do you think of total hitting one day bearish in order block at 3.75 trillion? I took it as confluence for shorts with USDTD. Let me check. Daily hidden. Yeah, it's definitely confluence, so there's liquidity. Why not? It's liquidity. It's according to the swing, of course, it's in discount. It's in discount, so not optimal for a short. But obviously, if you understand the context of what you're doing, you can then like play it on low size, treat it as scalp, whatever. Like whatever makes sense. You can do so many things in this market. You just need to understand the context. We have not closed below this low, so we are still in the range. We are at discount, so it's not optimal for a short. And all of this, like combine everything, and then you have like your sizing and all that, and put it into this context. And then as said, you can do many things. And as said, yeah, it's definitely context. And for example, I do not go below daily on USDTD, just because I'm mainly a swing trader and I do not care too much. And you said 23 hour, like this one. Yeah, obviously also confluence, but as I understand, we are in this 9-day, we are according to the swing, not in discount anymore in this case. We're above the 0.5. We close above it, which is again confluence for short, but we are not in discount anymore. Like your good shorts are down here, your good longs are up here. And I said if you put it into context and treat it as scalp or size accordingly, it can still provide insane good trades because, for example, if you look at ETH, we have always those consolidations. And there was this 12 hour, if you remember, right? We break down, and this is pretty much exactly, just that I showed it. There's this 12 hour, and this is exactly the thing you showed me on total. It's in the discount of the swing, and look what the reaction did. You know, sometimes these entries are also very, very nice. It's just about context. I would not scale in the same way, like if it's in premium or something. But as I said, it does not mean the level is not working. I mean, obviously it worked insanely well. And again, here we have just this little consolidation. If you went long, short here because of something, again, nice entry. Boom, big drop. Especially like those big drops usually come not from a pump into premium again. It's just a sign how strong the trend is. If you do not pump into for the dump, if you do not pump into premium again, it's just a sign how strong the trend is. And so as said, like these entries can still be highly profitable if they're put into the right context. And yeah, so this is just a perfect example that there is not one strategy fits it all, suits it all. So you need to be just flexible and adapt fast. And like the best thing you can do or have is like knowledge about everything, more or less. like take everything and take all informations you have into account and make one big idea out of it. Do not isolate single ideas. Do not play like everything isolated from each other. Put everything into context, put everything together, and then assess probabilities, like a percentage likelihood of something working or not working, and manage your risk accordingly. Manage your risk around it and around this context. Okay, guys, I think I have nothing else to talk about, to be honest, because I said everything I want to say. So if you don't have any questions anymore, I probably wrap the stream up because I have to prepare something anyway. Yeah, but seems like you guys are happy so far. Thank you for joining, and I wish you all a great weekend. Enjoy your time, and bye-bye.